Welcome once again to Hunter's Entertainment on Twitch.tv. My name is Knoxweiler Burf, and I am your game master and guide through a dark and challenging world of survival horror. Tonight, as we do every Tuesday evening, we're playing Outbreak Undead. This game is not for the faint of heart, and I, as your game master, have confirmed consent with each and every one of my players. Our lines and veils have been very firmly drawn, and we have safety protocols in place to assist and protect everyone at the table. We ask you for your consent as well. We encourage you to read the content warnings very closely. This game offers us all opportunities to explore dark themes and to shine a light on the human condition in the safe confines of our imaginations, but that takes bravery, and it takes the support of each and every one of us, you included. Tonight, in this game, you will discover that not every character is being played with the same objectives and motivations. Some are working directly against one another. They're in communication with dangerous outside forces, and they are aligned with factions that do not play well with others. You see, unlike other role-playing games that you may watch here on Twitch, in this game, there are no magical swords to be discovered, no valiant knights or castle walls to hide behind. The dangers here are far, far worse than you would find in those other offerings. The dangers here are a very human face, one that has been contorted, but still quite recognizable. It is the face of a familiar friend that has died, the echo and dying gasp of a civilization that looks very much like our own. Still, in the greatest darkness, hope burns the brightest. We hope to be able to show you that here tonight, in the middle of what is certain to be one of our bloodiest sessions ever. I would like to thank both JB Jara and Alex Hillman and the entire Hunters team for helping us to make this campaign happen. Simply put, we would not be here without their stalwart effort and contribution. If you haven't already, we ask that you sign up for the Scry program in our panels below. There you will be able to engage with the communities of our apocalypse quite directly. You can take on the role of a survivor yourself and help to divert resources and goods to where you think they are most needed. Make no mistake about it. Tonight, your choices will be the difference between life and death as they are linked to the settlements within the Rag and Bone universe. Our tireless Undead moderators are in chat now, and they're prepared to help you by answering any questions that you might have. As always, we ask that you support their efforts and give them the respect they so richly deserve. If you enjoy this kind of content, then we ask, of course, that you continue to make noise for us on social media. Help us to grow our pool of survivors, bring more into the fold, and make sure that Outbreak Undead Rag and Bone continues on for many, many months into the future. You can join in on our Discord and learn more. This is a dark ride that we've enjoyed. We are thankful to all of you for your attention and your time. It is an honor to roleplay with each and every individual here around this virtual table. We do not take any of these things lightly as we proceed into the darkness tonight. Enough of all of that, however. Allow me to introduce you to our players tonight. Michelle, welcome back. Would you like to talk a little bit about Faith and about the things that you do on the internet?
Sure. My name's Michelle and Bradley. Hello. I'm still alive. I'm not sure how that's possible. All this time has passed. On the internet, you can find me at I am Chubby Bunny on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram is mostly like cute pictures and like weird reels that I make now. And Twitter is where I talk about RPG stuff. Tomorrow you can find me every Wednesday over on Paizo's channel. It's called twitch.tv/official Paizo. The show is called Secrets of Magic. We're playing a new scenario setting for Pathfinder 2e. It's very fun. Thursday you can find me on Dungeon Masters Guild. There we go. They're having a show called Pretty Little Liches, which I'm in with Omega, who's still up there. That is Thursday. And then on Friday, also on Thursday at night, you can find me on Critical Role. The second episode of our Critical Role and Elder Scrolls Online show is going to be live at the usual Thursday night time, so check it out there. And Friday, you can find me over on D&D Beyond's channel doing a charity show to celebrate the end of their anniversary week, and that's going to be on D&D Beyond channel at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Anyway, Faith is having a bad time. Her brother is dead. She has gone like full like scorched earth on this town, on the cannibals village, and now she has decided to proceed back to find Achira and Lampwick because she has found somebody who has footage of her brother not looking the way that he should have if he was infected and then being killed. So she thinks something's up. I'm looking for them, and I'm hunting, and it's probably not going to end well.
It probably isn't going to end well for someone. We have yet to see who that someone is. Melee, welcome back. After a brief respite, you have returned to us. Would you like to talk about all the wonderful things that you're doing across the internet and a little bit about your character, Rowan?
Sure. Hi, I'm Melee Damage. You can find me at whatever the social is, /Melee Damage. So many things going on. On Saturday, I have a little stream called Lords of Faerun that I'm doing around noon. Please check that out. And I believe I have a guest appearance coming up on Blood on the Bayou this Sunday as well, doing a little Vampire the Masquerade. So that will also be very fun. I believe I'm in another episode with Cynthia Marie. So good to see her again on that. Also, I do have a short film coming out. There is a premiere coming this Sunday. If you're in the LA area, come check it out at LA Live. And you can check out the trailer right now on any of my social media website things. I word good. And Rowan has been out of the mix here for a little bit. She is off on a solo adventure of her own. As Nox put it earlier, that is exciting and terrifying. So we'll see how that goes.
We will, in fact, see very soon how that goes. Luis, welcome back. Would you like to talk about everything that you do across the internet and a little bit about Lampwick?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Luis Carrazzo, back as Lampwick. I'm an actor. I've done some TV stuff, some commercial stuff, some movie stuff. 2 trailers that you can look up right now is of the short film Of Hearts and Castles that I have been talking about nonstop because I love it. And Of Hearts and Castles, it's been doing a festival circuit, and Young Lion of the West is a film that's due to come out sometime this year. Actors are always the last people to know any of this stuff. The big commercial that I have that's starting to air now is a Disney Star Wars commercial it's my favorite commercial that I've ever done because I'm a Jedi in it, and it was just so much fun to shoot. They wanted it to feel like a film, so it feels like a kind of 30-second film, and it definitely was that the days of shooting it. Lampwick. Shit. Lampwick seems to be taking more and more steps towards communion with the shepherds. And a couple episodes ago, last episode or the one before that, everyone witnessed a very intimate moment between Mother Hodge and Lampwick, where some sort of a tentacle thing came out of Mother Hodge's mouth and into Lampwick. And I believe it was last session that it was described that Lampwick felt something wriggling inside of him. But as many of you might know, Lampwick was a while ago bitten and tainted by a Romero, a skeletal Romero, and was trying to figure out how to find his way out of it. It appears maybe he has, or maybe things are worse. But that wound healed up, and now he's here, apparently with Faith coming after him for something he had nothing to do with.
There are a lot of maybes in that statement. I would expect nothing less from the player who has created Lampwick for us.
Hey.
Janelle, the first of our special guests tonight, welcome back. We have been so honored and thankful that you have been able to spend this time with us in the apocalypse. You are playing Cherry Bomb. Would you like to talk a little bit about what you do across the internet and your character?
Thank you so much for having me back. It's been a ton of fun. So my name is Janelle Santa Cruz, and I'm a variety streamer and role player. You can find me on a variety of other channels like this one. And on my personal channel, I play a lot of Magic the Gathering and a variety of video games, point and click horror games. So if you like things like Rusty Lake, Sally Face, Frambeau, I'll be GMing Monsters RPG at a date to be announced. And additionally, tomorrow I will be doing a very special collaborative stream with Addison Peacock. It's going to be a spooky tarot show where we'll read some fortunes of the chat. So if you guys want to be there for that, it'd be great. And stay tuned also because on our YouTube, Andy and I will be posting a tier list of ranking of all the cats in our building. And so that'll be upcoming, so make sure you follow on Janelle Santa Cruz, all social medias for that. And with Cherry Bomb, she's a little wild child, a little mad, and has actually she's was born after all of this has gone down, but she's had to grow up pretty fast and, not knowing her parents, and then also being a midwife and being a part of what she's done in this time, but still having the youth in her, sort of naive, and has really taken to Marcus as a sort of leader, as she's kind of an independent and is realizing now more that she can rely on people, that some people can be trustworthy. And it's been pretty nuts because she kind of looked similarly up to Achira, who she just met recently, who taught her how to make some Molotov cocktails. And so we got those ready to go, and I'm Cherry Bomb's a little bit sus of Lampwick in terms of whether or not she can trust him. She kind of senses something dark in there, and we did vibe. Cherry Bomb and Lampwick did vibe in speaking Spanish, and realize, well, okay, maybe there's something there, but maybe I don't know. It's up in the air.
It's very interesting to watch you portray a child of the apocalypse. It's a perspective that we have explored in the past, but every time that we step into those waters, something new is discovered. This character that you're playing has never known a modern world. It has been a world of difficulty and survival. To you, zombie attacks and fleeing and scrounging for survival is a fact of day-to-day life. There is no haunting memory of what was once a more peaceful existence. So we appreciate you doing that for us. Omega, my friend, the second of our special guests, thank you again for coming back and for embodying the character of Marcus. I was hoping that you'd be able to talk a little bit about Marcus, but also about all of the amazing things that you do on the internet.
Hi. My name is Omega Jones, also known as the Critical Bard across all social media channels. I am a professional equity card holding actor and vocalist, tabletop professional, hot mess incarnate. I do way too much, and that's okay. A couple of things that are coming up. What's today? Tuesday? Cool, great. On Thursday, you can catch me with Michelle for Pretty Little Liches, where I play a very perceptive prophecy cleric, which is fun. On Friday, I'll be also playing with Michelle for D&D Beyond's anniversary party. That's going to be a lot of fun. On Saturdays, you can catch me on my channel for Let's Get Wildmount, which is a Critical Role inspired setting D&D show. On Sundays, you can catch me DMing a group of all Black role players for Dungeons and Durags. On Mondays, you can find me as a really dreaming goat man for Curse of Strahd campaign over on Realmsmith. And yeah, again, a lot. I also can officially announce, because my contract is signed, that I am one of the guest writers for the new Motherlands RPG book that's coming out. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't say what I'm writing yet, but you will find out very soon. As far as Marcus goes, Marcus, the Lord is testing him. Marcus is a man who was once a cop in the old days, who has seen a trial and tribulation again and again and again, but always kept his heart pure, or as pure as possible. Always tried to see the world in a better light, because if he didn't, no one else would, especially in this new time, this time of turmoil and strife. He's always tried to keep his head up and be someone who can inspire and at least keep some form of tangible hope in his pocket when it's needed, because a lot of that isn't happening nowadays. People like to use people called Lampwick, and people like to, do what they need to do to get by, which is valid, but he wants to get by and still remain a good person. But he's also very much a realist. He knows when situations aren't, he knows when he's not able to be what he wants to be, and instead he needs to be what he needs to be. Case in point, when he snapped old boy's neck a couple of sessions ago. He is also the ex of a certain Lampwick from over 20 years ago, and they finally had a reunion after he left him one day. He's not really salty about being left. He's salty about a promise being broken. He's salty about simply, you said you would keep your word and you didn't. And to Marcus, word is everything. So how that plays out now that we're being overrun by Ridden, let's find out, because don't forget, Marcus is a really good shot. So this is going to be as easy as Nox meeting.
You have brought a lot of humanity to Marcus, and we're very thankful for your talent here. Marcus was an NPC that I introduced before you were able to join us, and to have the depth and the focus that you have been able to bring to the table has made all of the difference. So thank you for that. I'm excited to see what happens tonight. And certainly, Marcus is not defined by Lampwick, as he's proven. He has become his own person and has transcended it, and in many ways is the antithesis to Lampwick in his ability to read and understand people in a way that no one else at the table as a character has been able to do yet. And I think that's going to give Marcus a certain advantage as situations begin to unfold here tonight. Due to the support of our audience, each of you will be receiving a single competency point. If you're in the chat now and you wish to send some form of aid to these survivors, you have the opportunity to do so. There are options for you within our scribe panels. Red Eye will explain them to you, but most importantly, if we hit our goals, which are listed here on the screen before you, you will be able to offer additional competency in future sessions. And I can't express this any more clearly than this. Every competency point matters. They will not survive the coming days without your aid. But enough of all of that. The road is before us. It's quite long, it's cold, and it's getting dark. We'll be right back. The world ended on Monday, May 29th, 1995. The sky fell, and the dead would not die. Civilization quickly collapsed, and the sickness spread like lightning to even the most remote reaches of the world. They called it many things, but it started out simply as another round of the flu. It became something far, far worse. H195, commonly called Legacy or the Reaper's Kiss, was deadly. It moved through society like a bolt of lightning, striking everyone in its path. Those who were infected quickly passed away, but that was not the end of their tale. They rose, and with a fury and a hunger, they attacked those that they loved. The world turned upon itself. Chaos reigned. Everything was lost. At first, it seemed as if no one was immune to the airborne strain, but eventually, it appeared that 0.01% of the entire population of the world had a natural immunity. However, even those lucky souls couldn't withstand a concentrated introduction of the virus. Through a bite, or even a deep scratch, blood-on-blood contact. Any of these would spell the end. And it was not a pretty end. The final days of the world were like wildfire. And throughout the world, people sought refuge and security, but there was none to be had. Entire cities burned to the ground. But miraculously, some survived. And for the next 25 years, life has struggled forward. The world now is a fractured place, but some seek to make civilization anew. Connecting all of the varied scattered outposts and settlements across what was once known as the Midwestern United States are rag and bone merchants. Individuals who bring goods and services, weaponry, food, water, medical gear, and supplies to those who need it most. They traverse the dangerous wilderness. They fight the hordes of the dead, all so that others might survive. The Ender's Line is one such group. It uses old railway tracks to connect all of these small, seedling civilizations together. They are a lifeline in a world that now belongs entirely to the dead. Sullivan Town is on fire. The rain and drizzle has done very little to put it out. The small shacks stacked together, corrugated steel, old lumber, and rusted out vehicles create a sad box of a community in the shadow of a destroyed old overpass. Like a giant's concrete hand that reaches out over this settlement. Sullivan Town was dead long before any of the survivors made their way here. 7 souls remained, and those 7 souls turned to dangerous allies. The Shepherds, as they're known in the wilds, have offered them their aid. And the Citadel has long now held them underneath its boot. But due to the actions of the past few weeks, the Citadel has decided that Sullivan Town no longer will operate with any sort of freedom. Sullivan Town will be removed. The attack came swiftly. On the heels of the destruction of the Marauder camp, the soldiers of the Citadel have made their way here quite quickly. Alongside them is an old, refurbished Abrams tank. It has broken through the gates. Heavily armored individuals wearing Citadel armor with Citadel weaponry, automatic weapon fire, blades of special carbonized steel, and a determination to get their way, have made their way through those gates. Very little stands in their path. There are cries of joy, military shouts, orders, gunfire, and the burning of all of the small encampment buildings on the north side of the town. On the south side of the town, the gates had been left open. A signal, a smoke enclosure, burning black soot into the air, has been extinguished. No one is certain what that signal was truly for. It was lit by the shepherds and left there for a number of days. It had filled the stormy air with black smoke. And the group known internally as the Hand of Malachi has taken a new follower. Here, within the gray, drab walls of Sullivan Town, Lampwick has begun a very special initiation, a trial. He has been told to spread the truth, to spare no blasphemer his wrath, to eat when hungry, to know that sustenance will be provided, and to bring her to them. The entrance that Achira had led the others through, and the side wall of Sullivan Town has been blocked. It is unnatural how this has been done. Large, rusted out vehicles have been stacked in front of the hole that was once capable of leading them to the outside world. Now, given that this walled city, this walled death trap, is surrounded by heavy steel and metal, it seems unlikely that any easy escape will be found. There are two gates. To all of you now, I will show you the map of Sullivan Town. You will find a number of pins that represent each of your player characters. Your survivors can be moved. Currently, most of you are here. Towards the south gate, Faith, you will find yourself near the ATV that is being piloted by the individual known as Betamax. Achira has led you here. Marcus, you and Cherry Bomb have discovered that the exit that you made your way into, the hole, the unseen entrance, has been sealed shut. From above, as the crackling of the radio and the speakers within Sullivan Town blasted to life, a strange voice echoed through, condemning you all. And then a song played from an old record rang out. Children of the Valley plays through the empty streets of Sullivan Town. As from the concrete overpass, the dead begin raining from the sky. As a horde of Romero plummet down, crashing into the metal and wood enclosures below. Buildings shatter and break under the weight of hundreds of dead as they lumber over the edge of the overpass like lemmings, throwing themselves to their own doom. However, the 50-foot drop is not enough to destroy the majority of these Romero. You already see movement in the debris, and you know that things are about to get much worse. From within those hordes, something moves. Not a shambling, empty husk, but something quick, agile, almost cat-like. It leaps and crawls quickly through those walking corpses, amongst them, using them as concealment. And you hear, in the distance, the gunfire for a moment from the Citadel forces stops and becomes much more redirected, much more focused. Cherry Bomb, Lampwick, Marcus, and Achira. You stand in the muddy streets. You are ankle deep in filth. The air is full of mist, drizzle, and flies. You are heavily armored. You are not without weaponry, but you may not be prepared for a fight quite this large. Certainly not at this sort of a disadvantage. You are locked inside Sullivan Town. Achira looks to the south and then looks back to all of you. Somewhere in the far distance, a radio crackles. Someone was trying to get your attention.
You hear that?
Dude, how far back is that?
If you look at the map, the radio is over here.
Okay.
You can hear it crackle and pop.
It's doesn't sound like it's far away. It's maybe like a block away.
Whatever decision we make, we need to make it fast. They are coming.
Let's go to it. We need it.
We need to. The X's, Knox, are those Romero's?
Those are, in fact, Romero's.
Okay, so right in front of us, we see almost a horde, basically, spilling in.
That's about 80 feet down the street.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you see them spilling off of the overpass in that direction.
In the direction where we hear the kind of crackling sound. Okay.
Again, the radio is over here.
Yeah, we can go around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's head there.
Which of you is carrying Camilla?
I have her with
me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The
Me
two
and
of you
Two of
are
us.
shouldering the weight of the pregnant woman who is gravely injured and somewhat delirious. She is standing on her own, but she is slow. She stumbles forward, and the mud and the rain are not helping you.
I'm gonna move towards Marcus. Look, I know we've had our differences, and I hope that we have a chance to make at least a little bit of reconciliation. I owe you much more than that. I can see how much this world has changed you in the last 20 years, and whether you trust me or not, know that it's changed me.
Get to the point. We don't have time.
The point is that you need to trust me. Get to that radio, and if that horde starts to move on us, I'm going to see what I can do to redirect them. You have to trust me. If I fail, then this is where I fall. But at least I'll buy you some time. Get her, and I'm referring to Camilla. Get her and her kid somewhere safe. And don't let Achira out of your sight. She needs friends.
I look over at Cherry Bomb and I say, one of us needs to take point. There's no way we're getting to that radio without some kind of confrontation.
Do you want me to leave her here?
No. I'm saying, are you comfortable enough being able to hold off? I know you typically are a close range individual. This isn't the time for being close range, though.
I'm just worried about her. I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to do anything stupid. And I look over at her and I say, ¿Estás lista? Are you ready?
See.
Dockside, I want to do something if I can. I want to. It's important. Lampwick is studying, especially Cherry Bomb right now with Camila. I want to see if I can gauge the sincerity of that.
Well, there is a roll for that, and I'm going to ask that you make a detect motive roll.
Will do.
While you're there, she looks delirious, Cherry Bomb. Her eyes aren't focusing well, and she looks off into the distance, and she doesn't seem very perturbed by the fact that the dead are quickly swelling down the road. She doesn't even notice that they're falling from the sky as they topple end over end, dropping with loud crashing noises into the broken buildings of Sullivan Town. She just looks at you. Mija.
¿Qué?
Mija.
Sí.
Ándale.
Ay, vámonos. And then I go I try to go towards the door and take her weight all on me.
You try to take all of her weight. I want you to make for me an endurance check for me.
I'm not going to let her take all the right. If Lampwick is going to do something else, I'm going to help, but I'm also going to be ready to pop off and shoot if necessary.
Yeah,
I'll be with her.
And I'll be ready to take the weight when he needs to move.
Then I'm going to forego the endurance check for now. I need to know where you're going, though. Both of you are sharing the weight, but it is not inconsiderable. She's barely standing.
We'd like to go towards this direction. Towards that.
All right.
Yep. Go that way.
My intention is to lead them. I'll take point and I'll divert if I feel like the horde is a threat to where we're heading.
Achira grabs your arm. Do you really think that you can do something? Or are we just leaving you here to die? This isn't some kind of suicide attempt, is it?
It's not a suicide attempt. I don't know if I can do anything. But I don't think the shepherds are here to take me down because I think I know who our real enemies are. And they know it's not me.
Marcus is right. We don't have time to argue about this.
We don't.
I'm going to lead them. You stay here then. She turns to the two of you, Marcus and Cherry Bomb. She looks determined, but also there's something on her face. You can make a detect motive check if you'd like.
I would like to do that. Okay.
Marcus, grieve.
If only we could add the extra I would get. If only.
We both get 8, I think.
Yeah. Dang.
Continue.
Yeah, I got, what is that, 5? Gosh. I got no successes.
You have a critical failure.
Yep, critical failure. I'm not going to adjust that.
All right. I'm going to say that you don't understand any of the people around you in this moment. They're very emotional. Now is the time for action. And in the world that you come from, when the dead rise like this, you move. You don't talk to one another. You don't argue. You don't do anything other than switch into survival mode. And
Okay.
so I'd like for you to make a composure check.
Okay.
And if you fail this composure check, you're going to go a little feral on us.
Okay.
Marcus, however, I'll deal with you while Cherry Bomb is making that roll. With 5 degrees of success, I think you have them figured out. You know Achira's relationship with Lampwick is complex.
Mm-hmm.
More complex than either of them would like for you to know, or anyone else around them. There is a depth of friendship there, but there's also potentially something else in the background. Luis, I'd like for you to, in your own words, describe, in all honesty, how Achira and Lampwick interact with one another.
Oh man. For Lampwick.
You know who your man's is.
Look, so Lampwick has, I think Lampwick has always seen relationships in a really transactional way, even pre-apocalypse, and has always kind of seen them in a really kind of rigid, black and white kind of a way. Achira's like kind of uncharted territory. There's definitely affection. There's definitely something. There is something. Maybe I don't know. It's the only thing I can say is that it feels like home.
And for Achira, Marcus, you know that she is ruthless. You know that she's brutal. You've seen this cold exterior. She can make the hard choices, as many people can in this world. You know, the apocalypse has already descended upon the world, and very few individuals are surviving to this point in time without having given up so much of their humanity, so much of their flexibility when it comes to other people. Achira plays a very good game at wanting to be alone. But there is a need inside Achira. She's lost something very important to her, and you can tell that she's always seeking to try and replace that missing thing. You don't know what it is, but you know that it's not a weakness, it's a strength. And you recognize her humanity in this moment, and you see the potential for her to be a good person. And so if you've had any doubts about who these individuals are, at least with Achira, you see the glimmer of hope.
Okay.
All right?
Then I just want to say, as we're about to head off, I stand with Camilla and Cherry Bomb, and then I turn and I head back to Lampwick, and I put a hand on his shoulder. Don't die.
I'll try not to. You too?
Gunfire is erupting on the far side of the camp. Go ahead, Omega. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Nope, you're good. I just breathe and I walk back over. I help carry the weight of Camilla. I look at Achira just to make sure she knows what's happening, and then I head out.
Cherry Bomb has become very quiet. And it doesn't take long, Marcus, before you make your way down the street, just a little further. And you realize that Cherry Bomb isn't shouldering the weight as much as she was. Cherry.
I start to
Fight or flight? Those are your choices.
fight.
Very well. You draw your knife into your hand closely, and you immediately bolt back towards Lampwick.
Not let them do this.
Cherry.
Just take care of her.
Achira looks back at you. We don't have time for this. Keep moving. Can you carry her on your own?
I look at Cherry. Is Cherry just like not even looking in my direction anymore?
Cherry, was all but running on all fours down the muddy road back towards Lampwick.
Towards him to like do something with him, or towards that area?
Towards that area. It doesn't look like she's about to attack Lampwick. It looks like she's ready to fight, though.
Okay, before I make this next decision, noise-wise, how loud is it across the board?
As I said before, there's gunfire to the north that is erupting. There is also the rumble of a tank shell. So there are explosions to the north side of town. To the south, it's fairly quiet, but from the direction that you and your compatriots have moved down the street from, everything is loud as the dead are starting to gather and raise themselves up out of the debris that they've caused when they fell off of that overpass.
Okay, then I would like to... I turn around, seeing this, very frustrated. Cherry, this is not the time! I want to either, I don't know what you would call this, either calm, other, or persuade, but I want to try to get her attention to like, I've never seen her get like flip like this. So I'm trying to bring her back as best as possible.
All of the children of the apocalypse, Marcus, are unstable in certain ways. Mm-hmm. They haven't been raised in a society as anyone who has survived, any echoes have. So it's not uncommon, you've discovered, for there to be unpredictable behavior. This is certainly Cherry's first showing of that here. However, I will have you make a command roll, and if you roll exceptionally high, I will allow it to break Cherry out of her fury in this moment.
That's a 4.
Which is high enough. It actually is going to meet the composure roll failure that Cherry made. So do you wish to put any competency in it to exceed it, or do you wish to roll on a wash?
Out of character, this is like the sway of the decision. If it's a wash with this, does that mean that like it won't really be as effective, or?
That's correct. It will work, but it will not be as effective.
I'm using the competency point.
Okay, so you spend a competency point,
yep.
And Cherry stops. Cherry, you're back in full control of yourself. You feel your hands on your weapons. I don't know if you have a gun, but you have that and a knife. And you were prepared to fight your way out of here, to give your friends a chance to survive.
We fight together. Let's do the job we were going to do. This is not time to be the savior.
I didn't want him to die.
I know.
For you.
He won't die. If there's anything I know about that man, is that he is a survivalist. Possibly more than I am. He can handle himself. She needs you. I am not... What I got is what I got. But you have her tongue.
Fine.
We will fight. There will be blood on your knife. Just give it time.
You see Achira climb up a metal welded ladder onto the rooftop of the building to your left and starts moving across the rooftops very quietly. She has a scope on her rifle, and she's scouting ahead, and she's motioning you forward that the way is clear. She says nothing.
And I will keep going. I'll give that one last look to Lampwick, and then I'm off.
You get to the edge of the doorway that had been left open with the radio, and you see a figure inside. It's a silhouette in a darkened room. You see the flicker of an old bulb. The generator is humming, a small gas-powered affair run on diesel gas. It's biodiesel, so it reeks of oil. And as that hits your nostrils, you also smell wet sweat and urine. As the two of you stand on the porch, the door is ajar. You see the radio inside continue to crackle.
It's right there. It's right there. I run to it, and I just kind of...
You step inside.
My gun is on my side.
And your boot, Cherry, pulls the wire that has been placed on the threshold of the door. You see now that the person has been tied and left there in a chair on the far side of the room near the radio. The wire was connected to them, and at your boot, a metal ring falls tied to that wire as you see the individual gagged and tethered to no less than 5 hand grenades. You are 15 feet away. You each have one intention, and we will be rolling for your speed as this building is about to blow up. Cherry, we'll start with you. What is your intention in this moment?
I want to try to... Well, this person is tethered to 5 different things. Is there a way that I can... Well, I want to try to cut the ropes off of them.
Well, let me be very clear. You have pulled a tripwire that was connected to the ring that was connected to one of the grenades. The individual is wearing
Gotcha, the person's going to die regardless. Oh, okay.
You could try to save them. But even Cherry knows.
I'm not going to try to save them.
This is not going to be something that could simply be done.
Okay. Door. So, is the door still open?
You have just stepped through it. The door is still open. Marcus is behind you.
I want to push Marcus back with all the force that I can, and kick off of the floor. And just try to push him back with all my weight out the door.
Is your intention to get Marcus away, to get you both away?
Yes, because I'm gonna grab my pack and try to cover my face and then push back.
You're going to be making a jump leap, so go ahead and roll that check.
Okay.
Marcus, what is your intention? By the way, I also need you to roll 3 blue die.
Okay.
Marcus?
I'm assuming I see the wire and the person and all that as well, or is it out of my vision?
Make a spot listen check.
Stress.
The blue die are 6 or 5? Or D6, right?
So D6s. You're doing 3 D6s, and they're blue. And you don't count 6s. 6s explode and you roll them again. So you would roll that die and add up anything that's not a 6.
Okay, 4, 3, 2, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9.
All right. Marcus, you have 1 degree of failure on your spot listen. Do you wish to use competency to correct that?
I want to, but it would be remiss of me to do it now, because it's not really going to affect.
There's not much else that you can do in this moment. So I want you, as Cherry leaps forward and pushes you back, I want you to make an endurance check. Cherry, you have 1 degree of success. Do you wish to change that?
Yes, so I'd like to add, use 1 competency point.
You're making that 2 degrees of success.
I'll do two competency points, so it's 3
Every
degrees.
degree of success is going to increase the distance that you're able to fling yourself or yourself and another away from this blast.
And this is obviously, I mean, clearly this would be a environment, or what is it specifically?
Location hazard.
Location hazard.
This is most definitely a location hazard.
Okay, so then I will use 3 total, including the 1 for the location hazard.
And I got 2 degrees of success on my endurance.
Very well. I'd like, Cherry, for you to make 1 additional roll for spot listen to see if you notice something before the grenades go off.
Okay.
3 degrees of failure. Do you wish to do anything about that?
No.
Okay. With 3 degrees of failure,
We're good. Sorry, I dropped my knife.
you aren't
the
going to
explosion.
see. You hear the clatter from the roof above first, Marcus, and then Cherry shoves you back as there's an explosion. The walls of this shack, thankfully, takes the brunt of that explosion. But the shrapnel and the shards of wood that are splintered outward rain through the street like automatic weapon fire. You're both dazed as you're thrown into the street and into the mud. Marcus, you have made 2 degrees of success on your endurance. And as you roll with this explosion, something inside of you sort of instinctively doesn't fight the pressure that Cherry is exerting upon you. And both of you hit the ground. Cherry, you did not escape the blast entirely. You have moved very quickly out of the way. That is an exploding die.
Okay.
Do you have armor on, Cherry?
I do not.
So, for your damage, I will give it to you. You will write it down. If your threshold, if all of these numbers that I give you surpass your threshold, it then moves over into the loss of a health point and an injury is occurred. As long as you're below your damage threshold, you have taken superficial wounds, bruises, cuts, while you are still hurt. Those points stay with you until they're removed, either through mundane healing or some sort of medical attention. Even with medical attention, this game doesn't allow you to correct cuts and bruises as quickly as other games allow you to. This is a survival horror simulator. And I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to keep you aware that damage is a very serious thing in this game. And the explosion that has opened this shack up like a flower, like a strange, twisted, rusted metal flower before you, expels this ball of fire, and you see the individual just dissipate as you turn and you ram yourself into Marcus. You've taken the brunt of the explosion from Marcus. Marcus, you have armor on. That armor, along with Cherry, has shielded you from any lasting damage. You fall and you roll into the mud. You're knocked off your feet, and you lose the wind in your lungs. But other than that, you have escaped any damage. Cherry, you have a 3, you have a 2, you have a 2, and you have a 4. Those numbers go onto your character sheet. What is your damage threshold?
Is it under damage threshold bonus? Because I have a 2 on that one.
You have a 2, but your total damage threshold is going to be your strength and your willpower.
Oh, strength and willpower.
The bonuses that you have for those. So
Okay.
what is the total of those two numbers? It should say bonus above where it says total.
Okay.
And then you have a bonus of 2 plus.
Okay. Strength is
the second number.
The second number is 6.
Or I'm sorry, the first number.
The first number, so 3.
A 3?
Uh-huh.
And then the second number?
And then the second number is 6.
Okay, you have an 8 total.
Okay.
So you have 8 points that you can add your damage up to before you reach your first threshold. With a 4, a 2, and a 3, you have surpassed your damage threshold. You need to move one of these dice over into your injuries. I would suggest that you move your 4 over, and then you will be below your damage threshold by 1, meaning that if you take any further damage, you're going to aggravate the injury that you're about to get.
Okay.
This is a burn. The entire side of your shoulder, your back, and your neck are covered in painful burns, and you feel like your clothing has charred, and you feel like the fire has gone through it because there was a lot of biodiesel in there. There was a generator inside of that building, and the resulting fireball threw you forward. Your colorful hair and the outfit that you had cobbled together is charred and blackened along one side, and your back is covered in horrible, painful blisters. I need you to make an endurance check.
Okay. Yeah, would it have been different if I took the 3 or the 2? I mean, would it have been worse or?
Either way, it would have been bad for you.
Okay, I did get 3 degrees of success.
With 3 degrees of success on your endurance, however, you bite back the pain, Cherry. And both you and Marcus are on the ground. I will walk you through what happens next when we return to the two of you. Lampwick to one side, the explosion rocks the street just as you watch the dead stand and start to lumber towards you in a swarm. The Romeros are grouping together. And they seem to pay very little attention to you as they look further down the street.
Now, are they
allies?
Got it. So, 2 things. First thing is, earlier I did a detect motives on Cherry. I just wanted to learn her. I got a natural 5 degrees of success. I wanted to ascertain her sincerity towards her concern over Camila.
I apologize as I moved past that. However,
that's okay.
With 5 degrees of success on your roll, you would have determined her true intentions, which were protective. Cherry, in your own words, would you like to explain to Luis how she feels about Camilla?
Well, the thing is, like, for me, it's more so because Cherry has been a midwife before that. It's like, I think it's more so she wants to ensure the survival of the child as, a fellow child, a wild child. And it's more so that I'm not necessarily as concerned about Camila as I am about the survival of the child.
Cool. So genuine concern at least.
Yes. But you do know with 5 degrees of success that it's not about Camilla. It's about the baby. And that maybe there's something culturally here that you don't understand about how the wild ones operate.
Got it. But nothing nefarious, at least. At least what that's perfect. That's exactly
and it's not coming from a place of like, I want the baby. It's more just she wants the baby to survive because this is more of just like a, my people type of thing.
Got it. Great. The explosion happens behind me as this horde is coming.
It happens to your left.
Happens to my left. Do I have time to turn and see? Do I see them jump out of the explosion and hit the dirt?
You can make a spot listen check, but I'm going to give you 3 black dice of difficulty. It's raining, there's an explosion, and you've got
So much
a
going on.
swarm of Romeros in front of you.
Yeah.
Dang.
No, I think my focus is just not even on them. I kind of hear that, but that washes.
Yes, with 5 degrees of failure, you certainly do not hear them, see them, or have any real indication of what just happened. In fact, you're sort of mesmerized by the swarm in front of you, watching them move. There's something hypnotic about it.
So, oh shit. Lampwick is going to approach them, and this sort of like hypnotic kind of reverberation from them. All of a sudden, it's as if like Lampwick kind of like has his out of body experience and starts to pass through them, and he starts to sing, "Oh, children of the valley, walking hand in hand." And for a moment, kind of forgets. And I know who I'm after. And I'm going to start to turn. And I outstretch I stretch my arms out. And I move back towards the main road where I'm placing myself on the map.
Right here, okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna try to lead them right into the center of town, especially if I know where the tank is.
Well, let's not go too far. The first thing that you do is you outstretch your arms, you begin singing, and you walk into a horde of the dead.
I sure do.
That requires a couple of rolls from you.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that I would like for you to do is to make a composure check. I'm not imposing any dice of difficulty upon that. You feel certain, and the way that you've role-played it to me, I feel expresses Lampwick's certainty that he has this ability. 3 degrees of success, you bravely and confidently step into the horde of the dead, and they pay very little attention to you. But as you start to sing, and your arms are outstretched, your fingertips brushing against the rotten flesh around you,
Yes.
you start to notice that some of them follow you. And you start taking steps into the horde, and a number of the dead turn in on the horde itself and begin redirecting themselves. But it creates friction within this mass of living corpses. Some of them are wandering off on their own without direction.
I start singing louder and raise my arms up. And I call out to the Prophet Malachi. Prophet Malachi, hear my call. Help me smite the sinners of this land. Use me as your instrument. And then I go back to singing the song.
I would like for you to make a command check with 3 black dice of difficulty. Failure here happens in degrees.
That's a 5.
With 3 black dice of difficulty, Lampwick raises his voice into the sky as the rain intensifies. Through the mud and the filth of Sullivan Town, this entire mass of dead turn and start to follow Lampwick as he sings through the streets of this broken village. It's working for now. Faith. You hear the gunshots. You see the dead in the distance. You have broken away from Betamax, who's driving the ATV. The two of you have agreed that he would take a different route and that perhaps you could surround those that you seek. Describe to us what you're doing.
I'm rushing forward. I'm trying to look out for anybody who might be aggressive towards me. So I'm sort of being stealthy, but I'm trying to hurry and I'm trying to find them because I know the Citadel might find them first. So I think I'm gonna head. If Betamax goes straight, then I'll go like to the left here. Just kind of ping it so away from the wall.
Go ahead and move yourself into that direction.
Okay.
And then make for me a spot listen check.
Should be in between there. Okie dokie. Okay, that is 3 successes. Ooh.
You see 2 things. The first thing, well, you see something and you hear something else. The first thing is that one of the shacks right here, Faith, one of the larger buildings, has a door that's open with a lamplight flickering inside of it. You see lying in the half-open doorway the muzzle of an old shotgun sticking out from the darkness.
I'm just going to try to avoid that area and not come in contact with it. Let's see.
Very well. The second...
Good.
It's over here, right here where I'm pinging.
Okay.
So you see that doorway.
Sure. I think I would go and try to cut down this corridor here.
All right. You start moving down an alleyway around another building, avoiding this area as you sense something horribly amiss with that area. However, when you move over to here, Faith, your military training stops you. And as you're listening before turning the corner, you do hear something. Other than the sound of the dead that are now in a trickle sort of falling off of this overpass, it seems as if an entire swarm has entered in from not one, but 2 directions in Sullivan Town. Both of which have entered through the 2 halves of the overpass that once hung over this place. So the corner that you entered in by the south gate is overtaken now by the dead. You know that. Going from the southern route would be difficult. You know that on the northern route, the rest of your allies with the Citadel have entered in through that way. For you, at least, that would be the safest route of exit. However, the dead are on this far side of the map. And from there, you hear a voice singing. And you recognize that voice. It's Lampwick.
Oh. I want to attempt to move towards there. Can I perhaps scale this building here?
As long as you make for me a single check. So if you're going to move over there, go ahead and make a climb check as you make your way up the side of this corrugated steel building.
Okay. Ooh, 1 success.
You make it up. It just takes you much longer than you would have liked. So we're going to leave you there as you pull yourself up. What you see in the rain as it pours down now in heavy sheets through the mud and filth of the village, you see Lampwick walking in the center of the road with his arms outstretched and the dead following him. They are not attacking. They are not striking against him. They are walking behind him.
Probably not a great time to talk to old Lampwick now that he's being followed by an army of the fucking dead. What the fuck? I'm gonna stand my ground to see where he goes first before I do anything else. This is out of control.
All right.
I would flag, since I'm on the corner there, just try to flag Betamax to let him know that I'm here and to not hold, just that I'm here, I guess.
Betamax had been working his way towards this street. Do you stop him before he turns?
No, I would have let him go. If I was climbing up, I would have assumed I was still going straight as well.
All right. On the far end of the street, Lampwick, you see an ATV that is familiar to you. The Rattlesnake, or the Rattler as it's known at the Citadel, a modified military ATV, the same one that carried you and your companions back here.
Can I see who's in it?
You only see a shadow of a person, one of them, in the driver's seat. You don't see anyone else.
Oh my god, I'm gonna assume I would only assume it's Rowan.
And we're gonna leave you all there because I need to visit Rowan. The Citadel is quiet, Rowan. Many of the units are away on mission. The communications division and a contingent of defensive allies have formed a very strong perimeter around the wall. The Citadel is never caught sleeping, aware that at any moment there could be an uprising, a swarm of the dead, or a threat unseen in the middle of the night. That said, Riggs, and now Lieutenant Faith, have made choices that have spread the Citadel thin. Many of the patrols in the outskirts and the breadbasket have been pulled back. Many of the communities are left without any Citadel management. A sizable force, with the three fat ladies, have been pulled towards the Marauder camp. You know that the three ladies are artillery guns that have bombed the entirety of that encampment. It's very unlikely that anything remained. You were there for a portion of it. You helped with some of the flanking maneuvers that cleaned up the rest of that filth. You've done as you promised you would do. Those responsible for the shit show that went down in the middle of those woods have paid the price for crossing the Citadel. Faith, Riggs, and a number of the most elite soldiers of the Citadel, however, have moved on. From the reports on the radio, which were not handed to you directly by Riggs or Faith, they're moving to Sullivan Town next. You think you know why. There's only one reason that Riggs would give a rat's ass about that hole in the wall. Camilla. Somebody has loose lips. Somehow, Riggs knows. And that's put you in a very precarious position. soldiers under your care have unquestionable loyalty to you. But for the first time in quite a few years, you're starting to see cracks in the command structure. With old lieutenants stepping down and dying, and Faith coming into power of her own, everything is much more complicated than it was. However, you have control of the Citadel proper. The mass of buildings and the heavy barbed fencing of this facility are under your control. The cemetery, unfortunately, is larger than it was. Inez, Omar, countless others have been planted in the ground here, but you've also held true to your word, and you've seen that they were given proper burial. All of the honors that they had earned over their life. Their dog tags hang proudly there now. Though you noticed that Faith took her brothers with her to carry Omar forward into whatever battles she was headed into. You've kept your distance. You've tried to be supportive. But it's clear that Riggs has opened doorways for Faith that have allowed her to escape your direct control. Not that you were attempting to manipulate her, but you were hoping that you would be able to ease her into a position of power rather than have her thrown to the wolves, quite literally. You're at the Citadel. Radio communications have been quiet. With Kusanagi gone, a number of the improvements that were being placed upon the Citadel proper have stopped entirely. The tank, Sharky, and all of the others who managed the heavy artillery are also gone. It's not quite a skeleton force, but the best and the brightest are certainly not home. Tell me a little bit about how you've been managing things at the Citadel.
Rowan, I feel like it's been telling people that it is a high priority to try and find Kusanagi to get him back at least to finish what he started. Don't worry there. And she's been going on a little mission trying to figure out, through a subtle conversation, who it was that has the loose lips that got that information to Riggs about Camilla.
You begin asking questions of the troop that are available to you. I'd like for you to make a command roll for me, please. That's not very good. In fact, it's 5 degrees of failure. Do you wish to write it out, or would you like to do something about it? A failure here, while that is a critical failure, would simply mean that you have no access to any information that you're looking for. You are muted.
I'll use, will 3 competency points make it less bad? Would I be able to, intimidate from there to try and get something?
If you reduce it to 2 degrees of failure, I will then allow you to make an intimidation check with a single black die of disadvantage. And if you do so, and if you make that intimidation check, I will give you some information. Though, unfortunately, the ship, for full disclosure, has sailed.
All right, I will go ahead and do that. I will give you 3 competency points and make an intimidation roll.
All right, so make an intimidation roll with a single black die of difficulty added to it, please.
4 degrees of failure.
4 degrees of failure is certainly not going to be enough. It's not that you are not frightening, it's that someone else has frightened most of the troops first. You can, if you wish, reduce that, but at this point, with these failures, I will tell you that you are aware that something else is going on, and that someone is superseding your command.
I would like to rally up my troops together in a room, the ones that answer to me specifically.
Very well. You call a company meeting in the mess hall. The people that you trust, that you know are your soldiers, gather. I'm going to make a roll. The Citadel is a powerful faction within these end of days in the middle of this pin region. You have a healthy amount of firepower. You have people that you have brought into the fold, some of which you have trained since they were children. Faith was one of those. Out of everyone available within the walls of the Citadel, you are currently standing with 23 able-bodied soldiers, which doesn't sound like much for a facility this size. But in these post-apocalyptic days, 23 people is a sizable group. Of those 23, 7 you are certain about. If you would like to take a risk, we can raise that to 13.
Sure.
7 you are certain about. The other 6 you are less than sure, but you're taking a chance. You bring 13 of them together in the mess hall. It's quiet. The lantern lights flicker and a radio buzzes somewhere in the background. You hear updates and other communications that are boiling in from the front. Sullivan Town is under siege. They've breached the walls. They're shelling the place. All of the varied people that you've gathered together, some of them quite young, barely privates, others long-standing companions, some of which you fought with when everything went south, some of the last few remaining people that you remember from the world before. Old and grizzled now. All eyes are upon you. What do you say to them?
So, it would seem as though someone amongst you has been going against my commands. I'm going to give you all one shot to go ahead and tell me who that was. I don't think that you want to see what's going to come after if I don't get an answer.
There are uncomfortable shuffles. Some people meet your eyes with strength and resolute bravery. Others shift and avoid your gaze, fearful of you, though you're not certain that that is an admission of guilt of any sort. No one speaks up.
What appears though that has everybody's tongue. Oh, and that's some shit. I'm gonna walk up to one of the younger ones that is probably most beloved by the group.
It's a Private Simmons.
Simmons.
He looks at you.
Come here, Simmons.
Yes, ma'am. Stands and salutes you.
I am going to immediately grapple him into my arms, and I am going to drag one of his hands over to the nearest cooking fire.
You drag him into the back of the cantina and all the way to the propane stoves. You can see a number of propane tanks have been hooked up to it. The ignition is very simple to work. He struggles against you, but he doesn't fight too hard. He's clearly like looking to the others desperately for some help. A number of the soldiers stand, look to one another. I'm going to make a roll. No one does anything. As you drag him forward, the young private is pulled across the slick, aged linoleum floor, and you make your way to the stove.
I hold his hand kind of close to it, but not in it yet. And I look at the rest of the group and go, last chance. Otherwise, this is going to be on all of you, not me.
Make a new intimidation check. I'm not going to impose any black die of difficulty here. And let's see how you do. Again, it's not that you are not terrifying, Rowan. It is that someone has silenced your entire platoon.
I will use 4 of my competency points to make that one success.
A single soldier steps forward. Older. Has been a part of the Citadel from the beginning, but has always been loyal to you. Nose to the grindstone. Never pulled anything stupid. Done their work. Kept their head low. Followed the tenets of the Citadel. Marched to your orders. Stands up, looks to the others. I don't believe you're gonna let that happen. Ma'am. With all due respect, I'll tell you what you want to know, though it might mean my tongue. Just let the boy go.
Yeah. And I do just like drop him, like fortunately.
He looks up at you, kind of stands, salutes nervously, and runs back into the line of soldiers.
Good. Also, you thank him. He just saved your face. You were almost as ugly as I am.
Thank you, sir. Get yourself a seat, boy. The others sort of shift. This man who is standing before you now, a gunnery officer, good at what he does, skilled, not the sort of resource you want to throw away, not like a private who doesn't know a gun from their left hand. This gunnery officer has skills that have protected and served your people. His name is Herbert, and he shuffles towards you. Last name, Herbert. Sergeant, gunnery. He salutes you.
Good, ma'am. You've been with us for a while. And she'll take a cigarette out of her pocket and hand it to him. What do you know?
He takes it, looks back at everyone else, and lights it. He draws deep. It came from command.
Command.
Here's the thing, Rowan. You know the truth. You don't think that in any way, shape, or form, Faith has been fully indoctrinated yet. You don't think that she's been shown what's behind closed doors. You've taken meetings with command. You know what that means. Command doesn't speak to anyone at the Citadel. Their orders are unquestioned. It happens within the Citadel that the lieutenants speak. Command commands, and the lieutenants act. But you've never had command work against you in this way. But Rowan, you know the real truth. There is no command. The doors are locked. No one sees command because command died over a decade ago. The Citadel is run by the lieutenants. The lieutenants decide together what command does. And this, if command gave an order and you were unaware of it, means that someone, Riggs, has pulled the rug out from underneath you. This is a full-on coup. You and Riggs had spoken. You knew that when the time was right, you were going to take Faith, lead her into the underground bunker, and explain everything. This is a goddamn democracy, one that's ruled by those at the top. But it's too dangerous to not have someone above you. You need a voice that no one questions. And that's what the Citadel has done. Captain Hurst is dead. But command lives on. That's right, ma'am. Command. We got the word.
If you know all this, why do you stay?
That command gave the order, ma'am? I'm here because I believe in the Citadel, just like you. We're bringing order to the wilderness, and we're rebuilding. The gunnery sergeant sort of shuffles.
Well, I think soon it's going to be time for us to rebuild a little bit on our own. What do you think?
I don't follow, but, you know, everyone here came because they believe that you and command have our best interests, Rowan. So, ma'am, we're here to serve.
Keep your eyes and ears peeled. You especially. If you hear anything about me, the waves about command, coming from command, let me know immediately what you hear, any rumors, anything like that. I feel like now more than ever, they probably hold a little bit more weight than usual. And if there's going to be any trouble, I just want to head it off immediately. And do not think for a second that if I feel like any of you are lying to me, that I will just not set this whole encampment on fire myself.
In almost unison, the soldiers, no, ma'am, no. We understand. There's a wave of understanding from the soldiers. They look nervous. However, they all go back to their posts if you don't have anything else for them.
I do not. I dismiss them, and I kind of take a couple of laps around the Citadel, just looking very menacing and in charge, and trying to eavesdrop as much as possible about anything I hear.
Go ahead and make an intimidation check. As you're moving through the yard of the Citadel, Rowan, the full weight of everything that's occurring falls upon you. Riggs is one of your oldest, most trusted companions, and while he is a grade A asshole, he has never so much as breathed an ounce of insurrection or betrayal your direction. You knew what to expect out of Riggs. This is not only unexpected, it's dangerous. And with Faith taking a new position within the Citadel, everything is changing far, far too quickly for you to keep hold of it. You see Private Simmons walking the perimeter of the fence and stops and salutes you as you walk past. Others are clearly nervous. The old gunnery sergeant continues to move towards one of the requisition warehouses, pulling boxes and crates out, going about their business. Everyone seems to be going about the business of the Citadel without any specific inclination as to something being horribly wrong here. Everything's operating the way that you would expect it to. They have continued to keep their eyes on you and show you the respect and deference that you demand. However, it's dark. The Citadel is quiet. Generators power up as floodlights begin to do sweeps of the yard. You know that your resources will last for at least 2 weeks. After that, the Citadel would require some very, very specific deliveries to continue to run in the way that they're used to running. It isn't easy to keep a complex like this alive. Outside of the biodiesel, the food, and the water that is brought in from outside sources, if there is no protection working its way through the Pin region, and if raiders or others begin taking advantage of that situation, the entire house of cards that the Citadel has built is in jeopardy. With Riggs and Faith taking a large number of these forces past just the Marauder camp and into Sullivan Town, there's a real risk of collapse here. And all of that is going through your mind as you're watching the beleaguered troops that are here continue their work. Two of the floodlights on the far side of the southern wall go dark. There's the sound of metal scraping against metal. You hear gunfire and shouts. And something roars into the night.
She's gonna run over there and grab as many people along the way as she can to go kill what she believes is another armored bear.
It's a hollow sound, having just slaughtered no less than 4 bears that had been under the control of the Marauders. Something deep inside of you tells you that that's not a bear. You and the other troops arrive at the scene of carnage. Soldiers have been ripped in half and their entrails have been spread across a shattered fence. The wall has been breached, concrete broken around it. A jeep has been flipped over. It burns in front of you in the night. There's a shadow behind it. Slowly, you see something emerge from the other side. An impossibly long-limbed nightmare. Emaciated, humanoid in form, but contorted into some unbelievable abomination. Its jaw has been unhinged, and it hangs all the way down as a slit works its way down its sternum, and sharp, jagged teeth, like spikes, erupt from the center mass of this thing. Empty black eyes regard you and the soldiers as long, spindly, claw-tipped fingers grasp into the soil around it as it prepares to leap and charge, running towards you. It is a thin, strange nightmare, and it's looking directly at you. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hunter's Entertainment on Twitch.tv. This is Outbreak, Rag and Bone. Welcome back. The streets of Sullivan Town are littered with the heavy, thick, muddy pools that have accumulated over the past days. Rain falls in sheets, and the metal corrugated roofs of these broken and dilapidated small shanty huts are on fire, sizzling under the rain, slowly quelling themselves. The gunfire erupting from the north side of the gate continues. An explosion has rocked one of these small sheds, throwing both Marcus and Cherry Bomb to the ground. On one of the rooftops, Faith stands, looking down at an unbelievable sight. Lampwick, dressed in the black garb of the shepherds, also known as the Hand of Malachi, walks through the streets, singing as a horde of the living dead lumber after him. An ATV on the far side of the street has stopped. Its engine rattles. Its large, broken lights break up the night here. Lampwick, you see the vehicle to the far side. You hear the gunshots to your left. As you move forward, what is your intention?
Oh, man. My intention is to keep... I'm going to keep moving forward deliberately. But I'm going to... So as I'm singing the song, I'm going to yell to the horde as I point to the vehicle in front of me that I think is Rowan. And I'm going to say, "Not her." And we're going to go right back into the song and keep moving forward, hoping to channel the horde in a different direction. And on occasion, I will go back into that and I will yell again into the horde, "Not her," pointing at the car.
Make a command roll. Your intention is going to also require 3 blue die.
You got it.
This horde of the dead, this swarm of Romeros, is slow, very slow.
Right.
However, there's something else shuffling behind you. You have yet to see it. But there's something far more deadly hiding within these corpses.
Ooh.
Something that moves in the shadows quickly. You have rolled 3, but I believe you have a specific ability that increases that to 5. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed.
You have succeeded on 5 on your command skill. You get to about here as the horde begins to fall into line, filling the street entirely. Faith, what is your intention?
As
you
I
hear
see
him shout, not her, pointing to the ATV.
Mm-hmm. I think. I'm going to see if I can progress to this building next to the car here. Is that building close enough to jump to, or I have to get back down to the alley and climb back up?
You could jump down.
All right. I will do that thing, and I will move here.
I'm not going to make you make a roll as long as you are careful about it. And then when you move there, what are you hoping to accomplish?
I'm trying to observe what's about to happen. I'm not sure. I probably don't know why he's screaming, not her, because I'm like, I'm not in there. Is he mean me? So I'm just gonna see what happens. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna play the long game here.
All right. So you're waiting in this alleyway. You see the ATV. Betamax actually catches your eye and looks questioningly over towards you, and then looks back at the road. Still badly wounded. Betamax is controlling the ATV. Do you give him any sort of indication as to what your plan is here?
Shit. All right. Just stay in the car. Just stay in the car. And I'm gonna go ahead and move. I'm gonna move in front of Lampwick. This is out of control. I'm gonna plop right here.
Oh.
There's a silhouette that appears in the rainy night, Lampwick, as you see a figure sort of saunter out from one of the alleys, gun at their side. She cracks her neck and then turns to you, and you see Faith. You hear gunfire around this other corner. You know that the rest of the Citadel is close. Faith, do you say anything when you appear?
There's not a lot of time. Citadel's coming for all of you.
Citadel is here.
Well,
You got to get out of here. I don't know how long I can hold this. Find Camila. Get the fuck out of here. Get her out of here. And I'm going to point in the direction where I know them to have been last, where the explosion was.
tell you what. I'll help Camilla. I need to talk to you, though. Some shit's going down. And it's really hard to talk to you with a bunch of Romeros behind you listening to your every word. This is fucking weird.
This is fucking weird, that's for sure. Get her, get back to the car, and I will jump right on it. And I'm going to stand with my arms out, and I'm going to try to kind of keep the horde back. So I will have taken a couple of steps forward. I know that they're slow. So I would have taken a couple steps forward, but I'm going to then kind of like hold them back.
You didn't hear the one thing I needed first. What happened to my brother? He wasn't a Romero when he died.
That's news to me. I don't know.
You were there.
No, I wasn't. I was trying to get there. I didn't get there in time.
You are shouting at each other in the rain through this muddy street.
We'll talk later. I'll tell you what I know, but I don't think I have the answers you're looking for.
Someone better, or you're all gonna die anyway.
Not today.
I'm furious. I'm definitely on I want to kill him, but I do see that there's a huge chance I'm gonna die also because of all of these Romeros and the Citadel closing in. I'm going to get in the car.
Hey, Knox.
Max.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but before much happens, a lot has happened. How much time was that?
The two of them have probably interacted with one another for a minute, and I'm going to go back. So let's go over to the other two, and then we'll come back to where you two
Sorry,
are.
I was like, I don't want you to get too far ahead, because there's no way Marcus is just sitting there, gets on the ground. What's happening?
That's how we do.
Don't worry, we're going to catch everybody up. But this is happening over 2 streets away from you, so there's very little that you can do from here, from where you're at. So let's go back over. We'll come back to Lampwick and Faith. Cherry Bomb and Marcus, you're lying on the ground. You've lost track of Achira because in the explosion, a number of the other shacks have collapsed inward. These are very precarious buildings. If I've not expressed that already, consider it expressed now. Things are falling apart. This is a ramshackle structure that seems to be held together with duct tape and a prayer. And prayers aren't being answered right now. So Achira is nowhere to be found, and you see the building that she was standing on has partially collapsed. That's probably the least of your concerns right now. You hear gunfire everywhere, but not much outside of that. Your ears are ringing. Both of you are on the ground. So, Cherry Bomb, Marcus, you look over and you see Camilla lying on her back in the mud.
I go to crawl towards her and the first thing I do is I check her her pulse and her breathing.
She's breathing. She's now unconscious. She doesn't show, you don't see any burns on her, but she was thrown backwards.
I think she's okay.
Seeing that Terry is taking care of Camilla, initially, I want to make sure that nothing reacted to the explosion. There's been gunfire and stuff, but I don't know if there's been much explosion.
Yeah.
So he wants to make sure that nothing is now coming their way because of that mistake.
You don't see anything. You don't see the dead. You don't see any of the soldiers. You hear gunshots in the distance, but it all sounds like it's being filtered through a pillow right now. And all you hear is a ringing in your skulls. And I don't want to miscolor this. So, Cherry Bomb, you are in agonizing pain as you crawl through the mud. You feel as though now that the shock is worn off, one side of your body is still on fire. It is not burning, but you have lost a great deal of skin. And you have probably second degree or first degree burns across maybe 30 or 40% of your body.
At that point, after I realize that Camilla's okay, then it sets in that has happened to me, and I grimace. She grimaces in pain, and just like, ah!
There's a lot happening. I will go over to Cherry just to make sure that everything's okay. But I'm trying not to meta as best as possible. Being a vocalist in real life, I know how the voice travels. How loud was Lampwick singing?
Two streets in the rain with gunfire and an explosion that's just damaged your hearing.
So that's what I was. That's true. The explosion did damage the hearing. There's a little bit of ringing. Okay, that's what I wasn't taking that into account.
I will tell you, once your ears clear themselves and you regain your ability to hear clearly, there will be an opportunity for you to make a spot listen, but that moment isn't now.
Okay.
You stand, and you do see the first of the armed soldiers of the Citadel make their way down the corner, armed in a formation, stepping forward. There are 3 individuals. They have battery-operated lights that have been affixed to their assault rifles. And you see the large kind of makeshift batteries to one side as they stalk forward in Citadel armor and helmets. You are the first one to see them. You don't know that they've noticed you yet. But I need to know, Cherry and Marcus, what are your intentions?
This square to the left of us, is that a building that can be entered into?
That is the building that collapsed, that partially collapsed, that Achira was standing on. It's a large building.
Oh, gotcha.
You can't enter it. There are boarded up windows and there are 2 doors. One of them is on this side and the other is all the way over here on another of these makeshift porches, these overhangs that seem to be all over Sullivan Town. You think it's some sort of barracks because there are multiple entrances. In the front, you see a rusted out old army cot that has pretty much been weathered away to nothing. What would you like to do?
I look at Cherry and just to flavor this, I say,
There are 3 coming this way. You're not feeling good. You need to get her inside.
We can't trust inside. We have to just hide behind somewhere.
Then hide and get her as out of sight as possible. I know it hurts. I know it hurts. Breathe. This is not the time.
And I get on knees and I grab her and I start pulling her on the ground, and trying to get her behind one of the buildings, knowing how flimsy they are and how volatile they might be. I don't want to go inside another building, so I'm just pulling her behind, away from where the stuff is coming.
With 3 degrees of difficulty, 3 black dice. I'm sorry, with 3 black dice of difficulty, I would like for you to make an endurance check as you drag Camilla's unconscious body through the street behind this building that just the kind of broken remains of this building as it burns.
Okay.
Amazingly, you have 1 degree of success. That means that you succeed. From somewhere, Cherry, you find strength. And you grab the pregnant woman on the ground before you, covered in mud. You ignore your wounds, and you drag her into the alley. Once you arrive, however, you nearly collapse from the pain as some of the skin on your right arm peels away, stuck to Camilla's jacket. You feel the seeping wound and blisters just pop down one side as your arm becomes wet in the rain.
I'm going to go with, but I'm staying closer to the corner because I don't think we're going to get away, but I want to be able to get an upper hand if they try to attack us. So I'm just going to be with them a little bit, but be again next to that wall, next to that corner, prepared to shoot if I get the feeling that they aren't going to ask questions first. And with that, I also say, baby girl, you got this. Breathe.
Take care of them. Just get it done. Fuck.
You see the light from their flashlights work their way closer and closer to your location. You hear the crackle of their radios. You hear the rumble of the tank not far away, further down the street. They're walking forward and getting closer to you. Rowan, what is your intention as this translucent nightmare, this pale-skinned, almost like a jellyfish, you see waves of veins filled with black and blue, like shattered porcelain, working across this figure as you get a better view of it in the firelight. It's completely hairless and slick, and it lumbers forward like a wild animal. You have 5 soldiers under your command. They are well armed and prepared to fight with you.
I give them the command that means to stealth to like a higher shooting position to try and get away from this. So get away and get to high ground, get the advantage, which I think is something like. And she's gonna stealth if she can to a better position, as quickly and stealthily as possible.
Make a stealth check for me. The rest of your troops under your command tactically reposition themselves. They begin moving over to large concrete buildings on either side of this open courtyard. The creature seems to be moving in your general direction, and you watch as your troops split apart that it seems still targeted to you. You have 1 degree of failure on your stealth. Do you wish to hold on to that, or would you like to do something about it?
I'll hold on to that.
You pull yourself up a ladder. And as you pull yourself over onto the low concrete cinder block wall and look over the side, you see this thing walking, dragging behind it a soldier. Its head has been crushed. Its arms are broken and hang behind it like a discarded toy. It lets go of the soldier, and it looks as if it's breathing deep of the air around it. What do you do?
You said it has a big gaping mouth in the front?
It has no real jaw remaining, as a slit has been opened in its flesh. Its throat is fully exposed, and there are jagged, spike-like fang teeth that have broken their way out like bone shards. Its eyes are impossibly large and empty and dark. It has a shallow skull-like face. The skin has been pulled, and it has a corpse-like appearance. You can see the bones underneath it, but there's like steel cables, these muscles that are working underneath that tight, translucent flesh. There's something stretched out about its appearance. It must have at one point been a human being, but now it's something completely unspeakable.
Rowan's gonna walk to the ledge of the roof, and as she's doing that, she's gonna try and like grip for one of her grenades, but she's not gonna do it obviously. She's gonna keep it hidden, and she's gonna try and talk to it from up top.
If you're on radio communication currently, so you hear parts of the units that have split apart. Sheepdog is in place. Say the word, ma'am. We have the target acquired.
I'm gonna try and do something real quick, and if this does not work, you light this son of a bitch up.
Copy that, ma'am. We're in position.
And Rowan will walk to the edge, and she'll be like, "Oh, hey, look, we're friends of the shepherds. You know the guys in the cloaks that you like to talk to? We work with them. This isn't necessary. Calm down."
You're still on the roof, correct?
Yeah, yelling down at it.
You're about 15 feet up into the air, up on the top of this low slung building in the middle of the Citadel. The creature turns its head. It regards you with these deep black void eyes. The words echo through the courtyard. The rain continues to fall around you. And then, this abomination, this twisted nightmare, breathes in very deeply. And you hear a low clicking noise coming from somewhere inside of its chest cavity. And it leaps into the air 25 feet directly at you. I need you to make a dodge check. Do you wish to hold on to those 2 degrees of failure?
Nope, I'm going to use my 3 competency points I have left to make that 1 degree of success.
1 degree of success is good. You're going to be less controlled about where you fall. You have 2 choices. You can roll backwards and remain on the roof, or you can throw yourself forward and drop 15 feet down to the ground below, hoping that you're able to catch yourself.
She is going to throw herself to the ground in hopes that the creature will jump back down after her so that the rest of the soldiers have a better shot.
I'd like for you to make a jump leap check with 1 black die of difficulty. One degree of success is good. You drop to the ground. You don't hurt yourself in doing so, though the wind gets knocked out of you. You hadn't planned on making that drop. The thing lands exactly where you were, and you see concrete creak and crumble underneath it as it pushes forward with incredible strength. It disappears under the top of the roof as immediately you see the sparks of gunfire. Your troops are firing upon it. It seems to be contained for the moment. What is your intention?
What building is it currently on top of? Is it
It's one of the armories.
One of the armories.
There are multiple small, low-slung buildings that are near the main gates of the Citadel. They don't contain all of the weapons of the Citadel. That's in an underground complex in the center of the Citadel. On to the sides are these small depots in which much of the ammunition and firearms are stored for each of the wall sections that are held here. So if an individual needs to replenish their storehouse of ammo, they're able to quickly do so. So while you don't have all of the Citadel's resources at your fingertips here, it is an armory.
And it's still on the roof. And do we have multiple armories? Is this the only one? There are several questions I have.
Yeah, let me answer those. You have 4 of them that are this size. There is the large central armory, which is a hidden complex on the base.
Rowan will radio to the other soldiers and ask if it's contained on the roof, if they have eyes on it.
We have eyes, but we're trying to keep it contained. You need to get out of there.
Yeah, not a problem. Maybe you should all back off on the count of 3 too. And she's going to pop that grenade open, and she's just going to blow the whole armory building and hope that it catches all of the other ammunition on inside too, and that will be enough to murder whatever this terrifying thing is.
It's a good idea. However, there are some complications, Rowan. This is a well-fortified concrete building. The windows and doors are well protected. All of the windows have been sealed shut. There are bars and also concrete blocks that have filled in each of those openings. The door is available to you. You could run to it. You have keys. You could use a key to open the door and throw a grenade inside. But if you just throw a grenade at the building, the chances of it causing the whole building to explode are slim. It might breach the wall.
Yeah, then that's what she'll do, is she'll run to the door as fast as she can, use her key to open it, and toss the grenade inside.
Those are your intentions. We'll
Yeah.
see how you do when we come back to you. Faith. In front of you, Lampwick stands in the rain, holding off a horde of the dead, singing to them. What do you wish to do?
I'm going to, because I see that I would prefer not to get killed by all of these Romeros, I'm going to go to the direction he pointed to, towards Camilla. So let's see. He said he pointed back here. So like around here.
You step around the corner. Flashlights begin shining in your general direction. You see the tank and a number of the soldiers of the Citadel massed together, marching down the center main street of Sullivan Town. You are now exposed to them as you turn that corner.
I start to make hand gestures that they are definitely this way, so the opposite direction of where they actually are.
You're pointing them in the opposite direction?
Yeah.
You do not have access to a radio without the ATV. So, you do not hear any response. However, the tank does stop. As the soldiers begin sweeping this area, you watch as some of them turn around the corner here. And some of them turn the corner here. They're doing a full and thorough sweep of the area, despite your direction this way.
Okay.
The tank did stop, though.
Right. I'm gonna, fuck it. I'm gonna just go towards the tank instead.
Okay, so you start walking down the central road. A number of soldiers run up to you. Ma'am, what's the news from the southern gate?
Just like a shitload of Romeros, so I don't even know if it's worth taking this town. Everyone here might already be dead. I
Did you
barely
hear
made
that,
out.
Bravo? We got a breach on the southern wall. Fuck it. The soldier looks back at you. Ma'am, do you have a detachment with you, or are you solo on this?
No, I had a ride. A convoy is just around the corner there. It's fine. I just came early to do some recon from the opposite side. Everything's, well, it's not fine. It's actually quite fucked. There's hordes and hordes of Romeros coming from both directions, from whatever this is, south, north. From this way and this way.
Ma'am, hold on. Do you hear that? Everyone stops and listens, and you hear singing.
Okay,
Riggs is looking for you, ma'am. You need to report in.
Yeah, sure thing, but you know what, I was talking to Riggs, but you all need to get the hell out of here. We're all gonna die. There's too many, and there's too many walls that are keeping us in here with the Romeros.
They look to you. There's some communication that starts happening. You see the tank open, and a figure stands. And you see the spark of, in the rain, a lighter as a cigar is lit. And someone starts moving towards you. We'll come back to you. Lampwick.
Mm-hmm.
You see Faith turn this corner. Where are you headed?
I'm trying to. I know the tank is north in the direction that she headed. I know that the people I'm trying to help get out are in between them and us, and I'm trying to hold back this horde. Am I aware of? You had mentioned earlier that there was movement that was different than the sort of slowly lumbering thing. Did I get a sense of the one or however many there were that are hopping around and moving differently?
I don't know that you've spent enough time trying to focus on what's behind you.
No.
Do you want to stop and examine the swarm?
Yeah, I'm going to turn around and look at them and make sure that they're still holding to, and I'm going to kind of start to walk.
You're holding this position here.
Yes, I'm holding that position there, but I'll turn and I'll walk towards like the front line of them and I'll move into the front line to look at all of them and kind of just make sure that they see me, that they're aware of my presence. I'm trying to make sure that I'm still there and that they're like kind of connected to me.
Let me be clear. It doesn't feel as if they're listening to your orders. These shambling corpses seem to be blindly walking after you. You're like a carrot on a stick. And as you turn, you don't notice any recognition or intelligence or anything in their eyes other than hunger and rage as their bodies twitch and move and they pull their bloated corpses through the rain behind you.
Okay.
Despite the theatrics of what you have accomplished here with some very good rolls,
it only goes so far.
It only goes so far.
Understood.
And so as you turn and you stop, some of them start breaking away and moving past you.
Okay. I'm going to move forward. I'm gonna take a peek. I know this is breaking, so I'm gonna go here, and I want to. Is this right here? This line, like, can I see from here? This is just a road. There's no wall here, right?
There is a wall there. That is a wall. Yeah, that is a structure that has been built for defensive purposes. There's a yard on the other side. You see chickens that are being held in coops here that are horribly being like mauled by the dead that are able to reach through and grab at them.
Okay, I am going to move to this corner and I want to be able to take a look at what I see over here. If I can get a subtle look. I want to see if I have eyes on Faith maybe coming back or any of them running back in this direction. Camila and the others.
Make a stealth check.
Yes.
Unless you want to be seen. Do you want to be seen?
No. Hope I'm not seen.
Make your stealth check, and then I'm going to move away from you.
Got it.
We're going to go back to Marcus and Cherry Bomb. 1 degree of success, you manage to peek around. You see Faith talking to the soldiers. It's raining. There's a lot of distance between you and her now, and that's where we're going to leave you for now. The dead, however, have not stopped, and they're starting to slowly pile up behind you. They've broken through portions of this wall, and you watch as the chicken coop gets decimated. You're holding back an avalanche, and you're failing, Lampwick. No matter how well you roll, this is a very precarious position that you're in. Marcus and Cherry Bomb. Cherry, you are in immense pain. Marcus is standing there, gun at the ready. Marcus, you had expressed before that you were waiting until the soldiers appeared.
Yes, but seeing how bad Cherry's starting to look, and knowing that Camilla is pregnant right here next to me, I have to take my chance between
ridden and humans. I can't reason with ridden. So, gun is down. I will always have my almost at the ready, but it is very much a passive position. And I step out. Before I do, I look at Cherry and say, "Stay right here."
Like I got a choice.
No, you don't. And I step out. Help! Please! We need assistance! Help!
The lights fall upon you. There's a pause. Where is your gun at?
On the side. It's next to me. I'm not hiding it from them, but it is very clear that I'm not training it at them. Mm-hmm. This isn't a show, because there's also a gun on my back, a pistol on my side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're a survivor, though. This is a different world.
Exactly.
Everyone is armed, otherwise they're dead.
Exactly.
Eat or be eaten.
Exactly. Weapons on the ground, now. They stop.
I am not here to fight you. There is an army of ridden, and I have a hurt, burned individual and a pregnant woman.
Two of the lights start coming towards you on opposite sides.
Okay.
They have their guns down. They're not holding them up at you. They're not pointing them at you, but you see the lights as they're trying to keep them in your eyes.
That's
so
valid.
that you can't really kind of see what they're doing. But you see two lights coming around the side, flanking you.
I say, I will be honest with you. If this was to be a fight, it would be one. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm trying to protect these two girls who need my help.
Holy shit, it's her. We found Camilla. Let Riggs know we found the target. Radio back.
As
The
they
target?
as I say that, I'm like, I pull out my knife. No.
She's got a knife.
Can I know what target means?
You can. You are assuming that since they're military individuals, that there is something about Camilla that is their mission. You don't know if it means to kill her or to find her. How they were using it doesn't sound good. But as soon as Cherry pulls her knife out, one of the soldiers to your right, Marcus, trains his automatic rifle on her.
I instantly shoot. You don't pull a gun out on someone like that.
That is exactly why we're both going to roll.
And
And the individual who beats the initiative roll is going to fire first. I want to be clear and I want to be fair about this. So you had your weapon at your side. Was it your pistol or was it one of the rifles?
It's one of the rifles.
Okay, so roll a rifle. You need to add 2 blue die to your roll. This individual was at the ready and is going to roll a single blue die.
Okay.
Whoever gets the lower initiative is firing first.
Okay. And quick question. We didn't really account for it because we didn't expect it. Do I have anything in long gun? Any bonus in that? I don't, but like what I have, I don't know.
Yeah. So it doesn't, at this point, you have your long gun, roll it. You are using a specialized weapon, this AK-47, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So you can use a ×2 modifier.
×2? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. That's what I need to know. All right.
And then your speed is what's most important here. So you're rolling 2 blue die against this individual's 1 because they already have their weapon at the ready.
That's valid. And it's D6. I'm rolling the D6, correct?
It's their D6s. So you're rolling 2 D6.
So that...
That's very slow.
It's very slow.
That's about as bad as you could roll.
Yeah, that's very slow.
So your speed is a 14.
Yeah.
Their speed is a 5. I'm going to roll with 2 black dice of difficulty as the soldier realizes that you've just drawn on him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's distracted in his shot because he now sees he has a threat to his left.
Mm-hmm.
This was a risky shot on his part because the target that he's trying to acquire is right next to Camilla. And
wait, the target he was trying to acquire is next to Camilla?
He to be clear, he is aiming at
Gotcha.
Cherry.
I was like, no, not Cherry. Okay, yep, gotcha.
All right. That is 4 degrees of success, which is a critical hit. It also equates into a headshot. Gunfire rings out next to you. You have 1 degree of failure on your long gun roll, Marcus. Do you wish to change that to make this shot successful, or do you feel that you've missed?
I am using 4 points of competency. I am using 5 points of competency. That makes that 4 degrees of success.
And also a critical hit. You have headshotted your target. 2 things happen. The soldier in front of you drops to the ground as his head explodes underneath his helmet. His face sheared off by the rattle of the AK-47 as you immediately raise it, seeing what's going to happen. But that happened a moment after he pulled the trigger. Cherry bomb. Everything goes dark. The gunfire was precise. You felt nothing. The back of your skull cracked open and exploded outward like an egg as your body dropped to the ground. Your knife clatters down onto the ground next to you. As everything gets very cold. The last thing that you see, though you can hear nothing, is Camilla's face, streaming with tears as she is now conscious, grabbing slowly at you. Her one good hand shakes you, and everything seems to move so slowly. But your life leaves your body, and you're gone. The other 2 soldiers fire. One of them, surprised by everything that's happened, loses control of their rifle as they pull it forward. They fire wildly in your direction. Marcus, the bullets fly past you. Now you see out of the corner of your eye Cherry Bomb's lifeless body lying on the ground next to a screaming Camilla, who is now conscious. One soldier dropped in front of you when you fired, but now you know the other two are firing at you. The first soldier shot wide and has missed you. The third hits you center mass. You have Citadel armor on, correct? That armor absorbs a great deal of this damage. However, you have a 4, you have a 5, and you have a 3 that you have to move on to your threshold. What is your threshold currently at?
My threshold's at 9.
So you will take an injury here, but it is superficial. It's your left leg. You feel the piercing and the burn of the gunshots. You're not certain. You think they might have gone clean through, given the proximity of your opponents. But you feel the hot, warm gush of blood down your leg in the cold rain. And everything around you is spinning. What is your intention?
I see Cherry's body. And there is there's the trope of when the good person becomes corrupted. When everything's fine, and then it's not. And there's a plethora of emotions that are going through like a slot machine. Sadness, fear, confusion, doubt, acceptance, anger, resolve, focus. The gun drops as I reach for the Molotov cocktails. And I attempt to get them lit as quick as possible, and I toss them in that direction of the two soldiers, aiming to hit them, but more importantly, aiming to block them for a moment. I need time, and right now I don't have it.
You desperately grab at the Molotov cocktails, now focused, iron, sharp. I want you to make a single roll. I want you to roll throw, but I need you to add 3 blue dice to that roll as you are grabbing the Molotov cocktails and igniting them before you throw them. It's not quick, but if it works, it could save your life.
Actually, they're pretty close now to where the original place exploded, correct?
Correct.
So instead of lighting it, can I aim it close to there so it catches on fire there and explodes out?
If you wish to create a minor explosion, throwing the unlit Molotov cocktails into the remains of the fire, because there's fiery debris in the street now that it's slowly being quelled by the rain. But
it is raining.
If you throw it right, it will save you time. I will only have you roll a single blue speed die, and while it won't affect your throw, the positioning may help you. It's up to you. There's a certainty to you lighting it, And there's an uncertainty to you throwing it in a certain direction, hoping that it catches fire.
That's true. But I need time. More than anything, I need time.
All right, I'm coming back to you as you make this decision.
Yeah. Okay.
Rowan. You were throwing the door open. You were fighting with the keys. You were opening the iron door to the armory that this thing is on top of. And you were going to throw a grenade into it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Make for me a composure roll. I want you to add 3 blue die to that roll. You have, most importantly, a 17 on your speed die, which means that you are fumbling with the keys. You finally get the door unlocked. You throw it open, but so much time has passed. Time that you don't feel like you have, Rowan. You aren't shaken easily. But when the dead start talking and moving in this way, you pay attention. And you haven't seen anything like this thing since you were in the woods with the others, and that huge, monstrous Romero, that walker spoke, and it spoke Achira's name. It's above you. You hear the gunfire, and then it stops. A respite as your unit reloads, perhaps, or maybe repositions themselves. They're still following your orders. But in that moment, you see it drop behind you. It starts to raise itself up. The door is open, the grenade is in your hand. You have few choices here. What do you want to do?
I'm not going to pull the pin on the grenade yet. If I can get in the building and close the door, I would like to try to do that, because you said that this was a pretty reinforced building, correct?
Correct. So you can make a dodge check. That is going to have you throw yourself into the building and slam the door behind you.
Can I sell you some survival points?
How many survival points do you have? I will remind you, you are in effectively an armory right now. If you use them, I may not be as kind about what is available to you within this depot. You have 1 degree of failure, which means that you would take a hit. It doesn't necessarily mean that you won't enter into the building. The choice is yours.
All right, I will take the hit on this one.
You have a 4 and a 3.
Okay. And it's the first number of strength and the first number of willpower?
Yeah, so if you look on your character sheet, you'll see a number. The third number underneath what is damage threshold is the number that you need to keep track of.
I'm looking for that. It's been a while.
Indeed it has. So Rowan, your threshold is an 8. So with a 3, effectively you're able to withstand this damage. It is superficial, but you are rammed as this thing throws its mass towards you, and you are slammed backwards through the door. I will allow you one chance to keep hold of the door to prevent it from entering into this building with you. Make for me a lift pull. The creature throws itself forward, shoving you into this low concrete structure. The iron door next to you swings widely open as your whole body is tossed forward. You feel wet, cold hands work their way across you as they try desperately to grab onto you. Their stinking, reeking, dead mouth open, gaping right in front of your face as you are thrown backwards, but your hand grabs onto the handle of that door and you fling it shut. As its body is pushed backwards. Your back is to the door as it lunges again and again, trying to force itself through. You hear gunfire from outside as your unit begins shooting the ever-loving hell out of whatever that thing is. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't slow. What is your intention?
Is there another exit out of this building, or is that door right there my only entrance and exit?
There is an exit. If you can bolt the door, you might buy some time. There's a hatch. It leads down into the tunnels beneath the Citadel, towards the main structures.
She's gonna bolt the latch, and then she's gonna take one of the... Is there like an opening in the door? There are like little bar windows. Is there any way that she could like get something to like hit this thing through the door, or is it pretty much solid at this point?
It's currently solid, though you're watching as the concrete around the hinges breaks and the door pushes forward off kilter.
Oh, okay. So what she's gonna do is she's gonna tie some string to a grenade pin, if she can. If this is like a resource thing, she's gonna try and be as quick as possible. She's gonna duct tape a grenade by the door and tie a string to it and run for that hatch, and then wait for that door to come down and pull that string before she just dips out completely.
Give me 25 of your survival points.
You got it.
You grab material around you, and as this thing rams on the door, you take a minute to set this trap as you move towards the hatch. It's hidden, and it's locked with one of your keys, but you do have access to everything here in the Citadel. You unlock it and open it, and you see a ladder leading down into concrete understructures. What many people don't realize about the Citadel is that it's a bomb shelter. A large, sprawling complex underground. It's a fact that's been kept from most of the Citadel. You and the lieutenants are well aware. You've never had to really rely on it, but the tunnels have served you well in the past, and you begin descending down that ladder, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and holding on to the string, waiting.
The door breaks open, and you hear... and you pull the string. There's an explosion. Everything shakes as you're thrown off the ladder and you drop down. The armory just went up. Lampwick. You see Faith. You see soldiers work their way down one of the streets. Some of the dead have broken through a fence and are pushing forward. As you're studying all of this, You hear shouts and then gunfire. I need you to make a spot listen check.
Okay.
One degree of success. Are you going to leave it at that?
I'll put 2 competency points in there to make it 3.
If you have 3 degrees of success, you hear Marcus. It's muffled, it's to the distance, it's hard to understand. But he was shouting for help in a voice you didn't quite recognize from him, and then it changed. And then there was gunfire. What is your intention?
Okay, well, that wall that has been breached where the Romeros are, I'm going to slink through them here to kind of see if I can get a position here. But I'm going to kind of stay behind like the front. I'm not going to go out in front of them. I'm going to kind of get to the front line and see if I can take a look at what's happening.
You make it to about here, and as you do, you break through the dead just in time. You see Marcus leaning raggedly in the middle of what look like flashlights down the street. You see silhouetted figures surrounding him. You see Cherry Bomb, her body, splayed out. Camilla is screaming, grabbing on, yelling. She thinks it's her mother. She's inconsolable and making so much noise as the dead start pushing past you.
Friggin' A. Okay, so is there 2 questions. How far away are they from me here? And is there a direct path to them, or is there fire and stuff in the way? I know there's 2 Citadel people.
Marcus is maybe 200 feet away from you.
Oh boy, okay.
It's not a small distance. This map is very, very sprawling.
Got it.
So when you look at this and you hear all of it, it's because it's very loud. The rain is still falling around you. You're all the way back here, and we're going to come back to you.
Great.
Faith, the soldiers are talking to you, and then you hear all this, the shouts and the gunfire down the road. There's a figure coming closer to you.
Riggs, is that you?
Well, I didn't know if you were going to make it. I'm glad you didn't leave the party. You went off half-cocked.
It's been a weird fucking week.
Tell me about it. Fucking sucks.
So
We're going to finish our business here and we'll get back to base.
Sure, but I would suggest we finish it quick. There's hordes of Romeros back up there and down here. It's not looking great.
I just got radio contact. We found Camilla. We're extracting her and we're getting the fuck out.
All right. If you got her, let's go.
There's gunfire at that point. Riggs looks back at the others, and Riggs is someone who always comes off as cocky and unaware of his surroundings, but you can tell that that's a show. He immediately moves and he motions forward as the soldiers, with military precision, start working their way towards the sound of the gunfire.
I gotta go get my my escort. I will be right back with you.
You think that's a good idea right now? Why don't you stay with us? We'll have somebody go out there and find your escort.
No, I feel bad. He's like dying and I kind of pulled him out here. It's a real long. Just give me 5 minutes. It's not gonna take more than 5 minutes.
All right, I'll cover for you, but you haven't got more than 5. Get back here.
All right.
Faith, good work, kid.
Didn't do shit.
You start moving down.
Yeah, but I know there's a horde of Romeros back there because I just came from there. So I would probably try to like do this situation, go down this little guy, if they're still back where they are.
You move over to their faith. The dead have not come that way. In fact, you're surprised that they're not spilling into the street there. In fact, you don't see any dead, and you don't hear any singing. Everything's very quiet from this direction. You can try to investigate further, but the ATV is about here, and you can see it at the corner. It starts to turn towards this area. You're muted.
I just stay where I am and I stick my head out and I motion. Come on, we're getting the fuck out of here. I know where they are, but this is not it. This is not gonna work.
Beta Max pulls up. Do you get into the ATV?
Yep. But
yeah, look, it's whatever you want to do, boss.
You know what?
Like I said, I'm your soldier.
One more thing, though. I didn't quite make it down there. Let's take a quick detour, and I'd like to point him in the direction of where Lampwick was pointing. Because I'm assuming that Achira is with this group still, and I just want to see if she's there.
Okay, so soldiers are moving down there. The tank is actually, the turret has changed, and it's moving back out the north gate, given the information and the intel that you've given. As it does so, though, it starts shelling the buildings over in this direction. So there is tank fire occurring as buildings explode around you. Large craters are ripping open. Other soldiers are moving back, but they're still sweeping the area and supporting this area. Last but not least, we move back over to Marcus. Marcus, have you made a decision about how you're going to handle the Molotov cocktails?
Yes, but I had a question. I have 105 survival points. I did get 1 degree of failure on the throw. I have 1 competency point left.
For 50 points per competency point, I will sell you competency for this throw.
Yeah, I'll use 100 points to make that 2 degrees of success.
The Molotov cocktail explodes, and both of the soldiers are screened by it. They fire wildly, missing you. You have your moment. What do you do? You've been shot in the leg.
They are dealt with, but there's Camilla, who was not my problem, but now somebody's dead, and now she is my problem. I move over to Camilla and attempt to pick her up. Knowing that's going to be a little harder with the grazing on my leg, but...
It went straight through your thigh. You have a hole in your leg. Thankfully, the bullet didn't lodge itself in a bone. Shock is worn off and you feel the pain of your wound. Make a lift pull as you rush forward to Camilla, but you're going to do so with 2 black dice of difficulty, given your wound. Despite the pain, your focus doesn't break, Marcus. You're a man of action. You grab Camilla and lift her to the ground. She is absolutely hysterical. But you pull her away from Cherry's body. It's so hard to look at her there in the mud and the rain. Her makeshift makeup is smearing away. And you see how young she really is. How innocent and peaceful her face looks now. It's
I look
small
down at her.
comfort, but she seems at peace.
I look down at her as I struggle to get Camilla up. And all I can think about in this moment as I pick Camilla up is I'm editing some backstory a little bit, because in that crash I was not scat-free. I definitely was hurt. And I just think about my mom and think about the words she told me and allow that to fuel me. And I grab her, Camilla, and I'm trying to go away from noise right now because I don't know where a chair is. Lampwick is off somewhere. There's a
You
horde
take
of
2
Romeros.
steps forward, and you see motion on the far side of the street in front of you. Behind you, the flashlights and the soldiers. In front of you, you see the dead. But I need you to make a spot listen check. Again, with 2 black dice of difficulty. You are distracted, and it's raining. But you do have a chance to see the individual standing in the middle of all of these dead. 1 degree of failure is not going to be enough, and you have nothing left. You're out of competency, aren't you? I'm sorry, my friend. You just see a mass of the dead roaming towards you in this direction. Now, the road does split off in 2 directions here.
And that's knowing, even not even thinking about mechanics. Marcus doesn't think he has anything left, so he's just going to start hauling it down as much as possible. Just trying to keep as much building between him, and just try to keep the noise away. The farther away from noise, the better chance he has. He does. I do want to say that I'm not leaving my gun. I dropped my gun to throw the Molotov. I would have grabbed that. But that's all you can do.
You didn't intend to do this, Marcus. I know. I know what Marcus's intention was. But you've saved your own life from the choice that you've made. You've grabbed Camilla, and you're carrying her now. And from behind you, you hear the soldiers approaching, running, and you hear one of them clearly shout, "Don't fire! He's got her on his back!" Lampwick,
Yes. I'm seeing this, aren't I?
make a spot listen check. You did see all of this, but I need you to make a spot listen check to see when you notice the soldiers coming from behind.
Got it. Whoa. Okay. I'll spend 3 competency on that.
With 1 degree of competency, you see that the soldiers immediately drop and take aim of the horde, creating a protective screen for Marcus and Camilla. They're trying to deter the dead, which means that they're going to be firing directly into you.
Mm-hmm. I don't like that. Okay. Based on what I see, what direction are Marcus and Camilla headed?
You see that they turn the corner there and start moving their way to the closer to the entrance that you started from.
So
The
down.
one that was blocked, yes.
Okay. The entrance that we came in from, right?
That's correct, the one that's blocked now.
Oh, that's blocked. Okay. Damn, and they see us. I'm going to... Am I close enough to throw something at that line of soldiers?
No.
I'm not.
You could fire, but that would be the only thing that you could do.
That's too far. I'm gonna move... I'm gonna move down along the horde then, and I'm gonna try to meet them maybe down here.
I need you to make a dodge roll. As gunfire erupts around you and the dead start exploding with bullet fire as their heads and their flesh burst outward with black bile.
Oof.
You do not move in that direction, Lampwick, so much as you throw yourself as gunfire erupts all around you.
I'm gonna keep moving down and then try to cut them off.
As you drop to the ground, you hear quite clearly over it all. Keep firing on those motherfuckers until every last one of them's in the ground for real. And if you see that asshole Lampwick, he's mine. And that is where we're going to end our session tonight.